Hey everybody, it's John Halpin here with Ryan Fowler. Welcome to the Tuesday Week 2 edition of Pickwatch Live. Week 1 of the NFL season's in the books. Week 2 is coming up. We're going to check in on the early lines. But Ryan, we're going to check back in. First of all, may I start this Tuesday morning? We're recording this about 9 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday morning. Actually, we're live on Facebook. We'll be recording later for YouTube. But Jets, Jets.
You're a Giants fan. That's really got to burn.
But it's a great chant, isn't it?
Oh, it's a great chant, and it's a solid team. They trusted the process up there. They moved it up from Philly to New York and in New Jersey, to be more specific. But man, that was a well-oiled machine for most of that game. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means. Sam Darnold's cross-the-body throw on that pick six to start things off was a little ugly, but man, that thing, once it got rolling, I think as bad as the Lions looked, I think that says a lot about where this Jets team's going. I know the Lions look like garbage, but man, that Jets team has definitely improved.
You know, and the Jets, even if they're just mediocre, right? They've got 4 against the Bills and the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins won Sunday, but I think the Jets are better than them. The Jets have them at home this week. So that's after last night, 3 of those 4, you're at 4 already. Doesn't take much to get 7 or 8. So, social media is so fun because it's good and bad, of course. There's miserableness there. But Twitter last night after Darnold threw the pick, it was so great. That's why the Giants picked Barkley. Okay, there you go. Watch for 10 more minutes and let's see how it goes, right?
That wine did not age well.
It did not. All right, so we're going to look back at at how we did last week. If we're going to look at Pickwatch, you know what? We're going to take a look at Pickwatch, aren't we? We're going to take a look at my desktop.
I can't look, John.
You can't look? Well, I'm going to take a look. How about that? Last week, here we go. You and I both went 9-6-1 against the spread. No, sorry. I went 10-6 against the spread. You went 9-6-1. Your tie. Let me take a look.
It was the Seahawks game.
It was the Seahawks game. That's right. So you were 9-6-1 against the spread. I was 10-6. We were both 9-6-1 straight up. Thanks, Browns, for the one for everybody. That was a lot of fun. What do you think of your Browns, by the way?
Looked good. I think Tyrod Taylor needs to improve real quick. Otherwise, we're going to see Baker Mayfield. He underthrew so many receivers.
Yeah.
If he led them down the field on those passes, we win that game because Gordon had to jump on him. Landry's had to jump on him. That was a winnable game. And I know Myles Garrett got called for that block in the back, but I think the footing and the conditions there, I don't know if Zane makes it if it's 10 yards closer. I think the rush there and the footing was awful, but looked good. Definitely some improvements need to be made there on offense, and it begins with Taylor.
Okay, yeah, I was watching a lot of that game, especially when it got exciting at the end. And what kept going through my head was if Mayfield's playing, they would win this game. Because Tyrod just didn't look. I mean, he ran the ball well. He couldn't throw worth a. I know it was bad weather, but man, yeah. I really thought Mayfield could have made a difference. I just thought Tyrod didn't look good.
And David Njoku dropped a bunch of passes and got picked up on a lot of penalties. So you lose one of the elements of the passing game when Njoku is that.
Right. All right. So if you go to Pickwatch, again, that's NFLPickwatch.com. The best records for the week. 2 of the guys from Fanside. Look at the against the spread, and there's 2 guys from Fansided up top at 12-3-1. Joel Wagler and Jake Valerius, I think you pronounce it. And Bill Cowher from CBS, also 12-3-1. So those were the kings of the hill on against the spread. But again, I'll take 10-6. I'm not complaining about that after 1 week.
It's good picking. And I noticed the cool feature there on Pickwatch this year. You get the spread when you make the pick, which is an awesome feature. So if that late line changes, you're locked into whatever the line was when you picked is the line you get, and it doesn't move to whatever it settles at, which is a huge upgrade feature in any pick'em type platform.
Absolutely. All right, the ones that took out a lot of people that they lost on, over 70% against the spread were the Falcons, Saints, Cardinals, and Texans. The Falcons surprised me there. I figured the Saints and Cardinals would be popular. The Texans, the number was a little big, maybe. I had the Patriots, but the Falcons kind of surprised me. I had the Falcons, but I thought that game would be sort of a toss-up between the people picking, and most people went for the Falcons because it was close to a pick 'em game.
Yeah, and you picked the under, so you nailed that in the Falcons. Mm-hmm. Remember, you were big on the under there just based on kind of how the last game went and kind of how the defense of the Eagles is. I mean, so loaded right now. I will say this about the Texans-Patriots. I think if they convert one red zone, I think they were 2 of 5 in the red zone under Deshaun, who looked lost.
Yeah.
That's a cover there. And Deshaun didn't have it in week one, and we'll see if they bounce back. But, yeah, the Falcons, looking at that box score, Steve Sarkisian's in trouble, man. That guy, he's going to be on the hot seat because that is just not a good box score, even at Philadelphia. You got to be better than that if you want to win the NFC.
I did see a couple of tape things, analyses. Now it's so because people can just rip parts of the tape and put it up on Twitter and talk over it. But there was one play where Devontae Freeman was wide open on a goal line play, and Ryan didn't make the throw. But generally, it doesn't seem like when they get to the red zone that I'm not an X and O guy, I'm not a coach, I'm not a scout, but there aren't people open when they get down to the 5-yard line. When they throw the ball, there's just not. I don't know what's wrong with the scheme, but the schemes are not getting people open or creating holes for the runners at all. I don't know that it's necessarily execution. It seems more scheme than execution.
Right, because those guys, they have a talented offense. All those guys that are in that puzzle are talented.
The line's good too.
Right, so spacing is the issue.
Yeah. All right. Folks, just to remind you of a few things. If you need us on Twitter, I'm at Halpin37. He's at Freelance Fowler. You can also get us at Pickwatch. That's the main account for the Pickwatch website, or for Pickwatch in general. For the week, again, Ryan and I are here every Tuesday morning. Josh Katzowitz and I are here Thursday mornings, usually around 10:30 Eastern time. We're going to start. And I'm going to do a Sunday morning Facebook Live with just after the inactives are released this week. I did it at 10:45. It went about 19, 20 minutes. Just talking about the late news, things like that, late scratches, the weather in Cleveland is what I had to talk about a lot on Sunday morning because that was a pretty popular question. I had the Browns anyway. I think, I was pretty excited about that. Your Browns. I'm excited about your Browns, Ryan. I really am. So let's get to week.
What was it? 5 turnovers plus 4?
I thought it was 6 plus 5. No.
Well, yeah, it was plus 5. You're right. 6 turnovers plus 5, and you still tied. Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot to a little. So, all right, let's get to the week 2 lines. They're not all. I start with Bovada, and they're not all there. So I was hunting around other places. So again, it's Tuesday morning. It's early, but we're just going to kind of check in on all of them. Ravens, Bengals. The Ravens are favored by a point at Cincinnati Thursday night. Over under 44. Ravens were just, they rolled. The Bills looked helpless. I think a good thing about this for the Ravens is that with the short turnaround coming up, they actually got to rest a bunch of people in the second half on Sunday. And I don't think that's something that should be overlooked.
No, and it took a lot of energy for the Bengals to score 24 unanswered, right? That second half, tale of two halves with the Colts and Bengals, Mixon looked amazing. That workload's going to catch up to him when he has a short week. I thought A.J. Green played fine. Dalton a little shaky there in the early going. It worked out. But, yeah, I think this short week creates an interesting wrinkle. The Raven, that point spread, what a tease, right? It's just begging you to take those Bengals, the home field advantage. But I think you bring up a great point of the rest that team got. I know it's only week 1, but they had all the training camp. There's preseason. And the one thing we always kind of joke about in my house is that, every time a football player falls down, that doesn't feel good. I know these guys are red, but
right.
Falling down, and even if you're on the turf there in Indy, that takes a toll. So when you're not falling on the turf for a half of football, you have to take that into consideration. I think the Ravens pass rush, even though the Bengals upgraded their offensive line, I think they're going to make a little bit more noise in that Bengals backfield, and Andy Dalton's going to make some mistakes.
Okay, I might succumb to the temptation and take the Bengals on that one in the home game, but we'll see. Vikings and Packers. All right, Bovada doesn't have a lineup yet. I've seen Vikings favored by a point, but this all depends on Aaron Rodgers. And as of the time we're recording this, we don't have any news on him yet. Obviously, there's a wild swing. If no, is it something that becomes almost it's got to be a 7-point swing at least, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because DeShone Kizer doesn't have enough tape to say, oh, he can go in there and beat the Vikings in week 2. Kizer was kind of toyed with in Cleveland, so I don't even know what his confidence state is, and that was a lot of pressure to go thrown in.
And he got thrown in Sunday night, and he looked bad. You watch, and you went, oh, God, these guys can't function without Rodgers.
Yeah, and that's just because Rodgers is the well-oiled machine, and then you're going to get – and that was the weird thing I thought about trading Brett Hundley was if Rodgers gets hurt, and quarterbacks get hurt all the time, you're feeling okay moving Hundley out, somebody who knows the system, who ran it last year for a guy that just had to learn it over the course of the summer after the deal with the Browns. So I never really, I mean, again, GM, I'm not a GM, I'm not front office, but you look at it and maybe they were like, well, Rodgers got hurt last year. There's no way it's going to happen again.
Right.
Buzz killed on that. But yeah, I think minus the Vikings giving 7 would probably make sense, which is crazy to think on the road. But yeah, I think that'll be a 7-point swing if Rodgers.
Yeah. And I think the one thing we got to remember, even if Rodgers does play, let's say we get news about him that they say, all right, he's going to give it a go. He's not going to be 100%. And as great as he looked on Sunday night and as amazing as it was that he was hopping around on, barely putting weight on his left foot, it's got to affect him somehow. And that's a tough opponent. So
the Vikings pass rush. I mean, you're going to be very uncomfortable and you're probably going to get crumbled on a few times. And then that might magnify the issue with the knee because you're getting landed on so much. It's not good. The one thing I did take away, you were mentioning those Twitter video clips when Aaron Rodgers was tying his shoe. I don't know if you saw this. He had to get into a track pose to not bend his left knee, so he didn't genuflect his knee, and that just showed how much pain it was because he couldn't even bend his knee to tie his shoe.
Wow. All right. So yeah, I would like, if I can get a low number if I can get a close number on the Vikings, I think I might jump on them early if I can. I think that seems like a good way to go. Colts, Redskins favored by 5.5 at home, over under 45. Did the Redskins surprise you as much as they surprised me? I know the Cardinals aren't a good team, but I thought they had enough talent on defense that they were going to make this a tough one. And I thought Sam Bradford would be competent, and he didn't look great. Maybe the Redskins are a little better than I thought.
I think the Arizona offense is worse than I thought. I think we kind of sometimes forget Alex Smith is very surgical in his precision and hitting it. And it doesn't hurt when Adrian Peterson racks up like 150 yards when he has this rebirth in Washington. But I think with the accuracy of Smith and his ability to run, along with that here's the one thing I took away from that game. That AP, if AP, he can't rush 26 times a game. It's just dumb. You can't do that to him. But if he can rush 15 to 20, and then you have Chris Thompson, that thunder and lightning combo could be one of the reasons that offense remains that above board, plus Jordan Reed staying healthy. I like the Redskins this direction moving forward. I think their defense wasn't tested enough to know what we're going to get out of that the rest of the year. Sam Bradford, dink and dunk, it was just bad, and I feel bad for David Johnson right now, actually. But I like the Redskins where they're at right now.
All right. I think you and I both do fantasy work too, and my advice this week is sell high on Adrian Peterson. Well, maybe not. Maybe wait till after the Colts game. But I think, look at last year. Had a couple of good games, and then it went south really fast.
Yeah, and I do think, and this is God's honest truth, I think Chris Thompson's the better back or the back to own in that backfield. I mean, he was playing great until he snapped his leg last year.
Right, and he played. He was lined up in receiving slots, things like that. So they used him well. There was talk in the preseason. Actually, Thompson said, I don't know when my knee's going to be 100%. Well, it looked like he was fine on Sunday, but yeah, the Colts don't look that good. This looks like an easy one place to pick the Redskins to me.
I didn't hear the spread. Do you have 5.5?
5.5, yeah.
So I watched this spread on Sunday into Monday, and it started at 4. The Giants given 4, went to 4.5 15 minutes later. And then by the time that the night settled out, it went to 5.5. So everybody was jumping on that spread. But I'm going to say this has all the makings for a backdoor cover. I think Andrew Luck can score some points late. I think he looked okay enough. I know it was a dink and dunk, 39 of 53 passing or whatever, but I think that they can score some points there late, and you're going to have your heart ripped out if you believe overly confident in the Redskins to cover the 5.5.
Okay. I love the term backdoor cover. It's great. All right. Chiefs and Steelers. It's at Pittsburgh. The Bovada doesn't have a line yet. I saw one this morning. Steelers favored by 5.5, over under 53. I think every Chiefs game is going to have an over under of 49 or above at some point. That's the way it's looking right now, because it's just going to, it bombs away with those guys. They're going to be fun to watch. And I was wrong on them. I think I underestimated them. I still don't think the defense will be good, but man, that offense looked potent.
Patrick Mahomes' arm, I know he could throw the deep ball, but on the slant routes and on the under routes, much stronger. That's a bullet coming out of there, which I was just blown away by. Just pop, pop, pop. And then obviously what Tyreek Hill did. And then the misuse of Kareem Hunt always makes me laugh. And then they didn't even target Kelsey. That's where this offense can really take a next step, is get Kelsey involved a little bit more. I think, what do you end up with? 2 targets? I just know the number.
1 or 2. Yeah, it was low.
Low, which is, again, just Mahomes finding the guy he likes, and that happens to be Hill, and kind of adapting to this new system and getting introduced to it. But yeah, the defense, whatever. Phillip Rivers had a nice game. Keenan Allen had a nice game.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Williams had a nice game. So that defense for the Chiefs is going to get chewed up a little bit. But very impressed with what Mahomes did. But let's say, again, this NFL, there's parity for a reason. People make adjustments. So I don't think it's going to be as easy with T.J. Watt coming at Mahomes as it was there in Los Angeles over the weekend.
Yeah, and I think the Steelers – I think the spread takes into account. So you might be tempted to be down on the Steelers a little bit after their game against the Browns on Sunday, but I think this spread kind of takes into account that, no, the Steelers are still pretty good. So we're not
when you told me the spread that you saw, I'm like, yeah, they're going to make adjustments. Connor looked good. Antonio Brown's going to have a better game. Juju's probably going to have a better game. But yeah, I think one thing kind of lost in the tie was how well Connor played in place of Le'Veon Bell.
Are we going over the 53? What do you think?
That's a lot of points.
It's the Chiefs. If the Chiefs are playing, I'm going over.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm just kind of curious what the Chiefs come back down to earth total is on the road. And I'm going to take the under on that.
All right. So I don't know if I ever told you this story. Back when I was in my 20s, let's say, my friend last week, right? My friend Boose's brother, Bobby used to bet football a lot, and he didn't really understand football. He wasn't a huge, he liked to watch, but he would bet, and he kind of didn't really know totally what he was betting about. And we were talking to him, and I were like, why, you keep gambling on the NFL because, you're not a huge football fan. He goes, I don't have to be. I just bet the over in every game. And I say, go NFL.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
Very sound advice.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was funny. Anyway, but I think he did fine too. So what do I know? I'm sitting there studying stuff, and I going, getting 51% of the games right. Anyway, Browns Saints. Browns are getting 8.5 going to New Orleans. The over-under is 50. I think there is going to be I think we are going to see an angry Saints team that is better than they looked on Sunday. Their defense is, I've heard from too many people so far, let's say casual observers, that, oh, look, the Saints defense is back to normal. No, they're pretty good. They had a bad game. I think this is going to turn around fast.
Agreed. And it's just crazy that Bucks go in there at 9.5-point dogs, and I took the Bucks, but I didn't think they were going to – what Fitzpatrick was going to do. But this goes back to Tyrod Taylor. He looked so bad in week 1 against the Steelers. I know it was rain. Now you get a dome, yada, yada, yada. I still think there's a consistency issue at quarterback that's not going to allow the Browns to score enough points to keep up with the high-motored machine that is Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas, who was knocking on Brandon Marshall's door for most receptions in a game last week.
Yeah.
That was incredible. But, yeah, Drew Brees, it's so funny. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara running offense, take Ingram out for 4 weeks, and Drew Brees goes out there and just goes back to work. That guy's incredible what he can do. But I think Tyrod Taylor's going to be the Achilles heel in this game, and the Saints will be able to cover the 8.
All right. I think you're right. And the one other thing for the Browns, Emmanuel Agra, they're a good defensive end. He's got an ankle injury. We're not sure if he's going to play. He's big. He's better than people think. He was probably the reason they didn't draft Bradley Chubb. So,
probably,
don't ignore that injury. As good as Myles Garrett is, Agra's pretty good too. I think I think if the Saints blow out the Browns, we're officially on Baker watch. Yeah. So, let's keep an eye on that. All right. Next up, Eagles at Bucks. Eagles are favored by 3 at Tampa. The over-under is 44. So what confused me about the game the other day, surprised me, let's say, is that it was funny. I think I joked with you on Sunday. I kept telling everyone to go under in the Saints-Bucks, and that was done by halftime. That was just blown out of the water. The Bucks made some improvements on defense in the offseason, and I think their defense has improved from bad to okay. So this is not an easy game for the Eagles. I mean, Nick Foles is back to being Nick Foles. Maybe. I mean, from what we saw last week, we have reason to suspect that, he's come back to earth. He's not bad. He's just not what he was in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. This is a tough one. I think I would probably take the Eagles, but if I was betting something with confidence fix, it wouldn't be too high.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles for a few reasons. I think the Eagles pass rush is going to make Fitzpatrick come back down to earth. I think what he was able to do was just be too comfortable in the pocket, and the Eagles pass rush is going to make Fitzpatrick's life hell for 60 minutes there. The other thing you have to think about, and I know Foles doesn't look great, and I know their passing game just was awful against the Falcons. Brent Grimes, pardon me, is dealing with a groin injury in the secondary for the Bucs, and then Vernon Hargreaves. I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Hargreaves? Hargreaves. It's got the A.
Hargreaves. Yeah.
He got dinged up, and I think he had an MRI. They didn't have an update last night. I didn't see this morning. So their secondary is a little banged up, which might make life a little bit easier for the Eagles receivers. But yeah, I thought Tampa did a lot of things well as far as surprising a lot of people with how efficiently and consistently they did it for 4 quarters against the Saints. Granted, that defense did allow a lot of points to Drew Brees in rally mode. I think this under is interesting because I do think the Buccaneers don't score enough to help that over of 44.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think I like the under there too. Panthers are getting 5 at Atlanta. That's a big bounce back number for the Falcons, or that the spread buys into that. The Panthers looked fine. The defense looked really good against the Cowboys. The offense wasn't that great. Greg Olsen, we're still waiting on the issue. My favorite line from Monday was, by the way, Ron Rivera meets the media at 12:30 on Mondays. And he told the media yesterday that he purposely doesn't talk to the trainer before noon Mondays so that he doesn't have to talk about injuries in his 12:30 press conference.
Plausible deniability.
Thanks, Coach. Big help there for us. So we don't know about Greg Olsen. It doesn't sound good.
No.
But next they have a rookie, Ian Thomas, 4th-round pick that they like. And I think the transition, he's not Greg Olsen, but I don't think there'll be a black hole there. The bigger injury, Darrell Williams, their right tackle, hurt his knee again, different injury than he had in the preseason. He came back faster than we thought. Now he's hurt again. So that's a tough one. The Falcons lost a big member of their defense, Keanu Neal, their safety, torn ACL out for the season. That's a tough one. I think this spread's too high. I think these are 2 teams that are close to evenly matched, and I think the number's too high.
You said 5 or 5.5?
I said 5.
Yeah, that is. I think that's way too high. And again, this goes back to my disdain for what Sarkisian's doing right now. Devonta Freeman wasn't able to play there late in the 4th quarter. I don't know if you caught that on the sideline. He was dinged up, and they had to go with Tevin Coleman in the later part of that 4th quarter. Be interesting to see if that hurts his workload in week 2, and we see more Tevin Coleman. The Panthers, I tried to watch that game. It was as painful as I thought it was going to be. Just kind of like when gears need some grease and some WD-40, that's what watching the Panthers is for me right now. I know McCaffrey, when he breaks out, things get exciting and it's like, woo! Or Cam Newton does what he does when he goes into the end zone. But outside of that, it's a tough watch for me. And the Cowboys, man, the Cowboys Nation is all up in arms. So we don't even know now. So it's kind of hard to gauge and glean a lot from what that Panthers game was. But it is division game. Division games, I think, are closer than a 5-point spread. I would take the Panthers. All
right. I think I'm going to do the same thing. Dolphins at Jets. Bovada doesn't have the line yet. I saw Dolphins favored by 1 this morning, 43.5 somewhere. I can't. That can't hold. That's not. I know the Dolphins won, but no way.
Because a lot of people bet with their heart, so that's going to move just based on that.
Right. So I think the Jets are going to win. Jets are going to be 2-0, and they're going to be many Jet fans that I grew up with basically ready to print playoff tickets. They are set, man.
How about Trent Richardson last night? Or not Trent Richardson, awesome. Isaiah Crowell, wow. Went back into the Browns time machine there. Isaiah Crowell's final stat line, quite impressive there, even with the Bilal Powell timeshare. I thought, again, the Lions, a lot of work needs to be done. But for Crowell to go out there in week 1 and drop what he did, that was quite impressive. Because, again, Sam Darnold's going to get all the headlines, and Robbie Anderson's catch was awesome, by the way. But Crowell, I thought, was an incredible stat line for that debut.
Yeah, weird thing in that game last night. After the game, the Jets defense said that they were calling out plays, that they knew what the Lions were going to do. I don't know how that happens because their offense seemed to function pretty well. You know, they kept the offensive coordinator when they hired a new head coach, and the offense before was, you know, was fine. So I'm curious as to what's going on in Detroit. Maybe, I mean, it almost, that's one of those games that screams to me, you know, just fluke, throw it away. The Lions are not terrible. They're kind of mediocre. But the last night, I can't believe they're that bad. And I can't understand why that happened with the Jets knowing exactly what they were going to do.
Yeah, it was a crazy comment, and that one went pretty viral on Twitter last night, people passing that along. Because when you're tipping your passes, they're like,
yeah,
tipping his pitches. That's a game changer, and that's why you throw 4 interceptions. And Stafford's final stat line outside of the interceptions wasn't horrible. I mean, he was able to move the ball. But, again, I think when you look at where the Jets are on defense and offense combined, and you look at what the Dolphins – and, again, the Dolphins game with the 8 hours and 4 hours of lightning delays, and it's just hard to figure anything really out of that. Frank Gore, immortal, 9 carries, 5.6 yards per carry, or 6.5. I mean, it was just – Frank Gore had a nice game. Kenny Stills was impressive against the Titans. But I still think Tannehill is going to find some issues as things play out and play. And maybe Ryan Tannehill will tip his passes and he'll throw 4
interceptions. Yeah. Tannehill seemed to play pretty well. As far as that Gore, Kenyon Drake still – Gore's funny. He got those stats, but Drake was still on the field probably 3 times as much as he was. Not sure exactly. Having not watched that game, not exactly sure what happened there. But yeah, I think unless I have a feeling that number is going to go up. And like I said, Bovada's line's not out yet, so I'm curious to see what that is. Texans at Titans. Line is off on that because we got a lot of uncertainty around the Titans. Delaney Walker, tight end, out for the season. Dislocated broken ankle. Marcus Mariota, elbow injury. We haven't heard word on it. Again, we're recording this at about 9:30 Eastern on Tuesday morning, so no word yet on Marcus Mariota. And Tuesday is usually a slow news day for the NFL team since that's the players' day off. We don't get a lot. So you did. I've seen Titans favored by 2.5 at home, which was fine. As you said earlier, you talked about Deshaun Watson. You said he looked lost. I agree with you. I thought he looked bad. I know he didn't have Will Fuller, and he. You know, that's a deep threat that changes things for him a little bit, but I didn't think he looked good at all.
No, and I mean, 2 turnovers, a fumble, and then the interception, the red zone issue, and that's give some kudos to the Patriots. They bend, don't break. I mean, that's just kind of how their defense has been for a decade or more. But Deshaun, shaky. Lamar Miller, that workload I think is going to need to continue. I think Lamar Miller getting close to 20 carries per game is going to have to continue for Deshaun not to have the pressure of the world to win the game with his arm, with or without Will Fuller active. I just think that needs to be part of the MO and a little Alfred Blue here or there. But, yeah, I think Deshaun getting back into the swing of things, and I think he overshot his skis last year as a rookie.
Right.
Again, with Dak Prescott getting his statue made a little too early, I think Deshaun also is going to run into that. And it's not easy coming back from an ACL. So I do like this matchup, though. I think Deshaun can have a little bit more of a bounce-back game, a cleaner game. If Ryan Tannehill can go out there, have that high completion percentage, throw a couple touchdowns, you build on that confidence plus Watson's rushing ability.
Right. Texans, by the way, I'm checking the status of the injuries. The right tackle, Shantrell Henderson, is going to be out for the season. Kevin Johnson, their corner, had a concussion. I mean, they just had a tough day.
Kevin Johnson's probably out a month, they said.
Yeah. I mean, that's just bad news for them. They had a tough time, and I agree with you. I'm not picking on Deshaun Watson, but I didn't think that – I mean, those, 5 or 6 games last year, I kind of thought, I don't know that I want to crown him a superstar just yet because, with his game. And early on last year, the passing certainly got better. But it got better so fast that you kind of went, well, is this sustainable? I don't know. So anyway, like I said, not picking on Deshaun Watson. Just I think I like the Titans. I still think the Titans are a good team, even though they did not look good on Sunday. And Sunday was a weird game anyway.
What if Blaine Gabbert starts?
I don't know. I want to see what the number is.
That might be the best reaction to somebody asking another person, another human being. What if Blaine Gabbert starts?
I don't think Blaine Gabbert's horrible. As a backup, there's worse. So, I mean, Giants, hello. So, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. But I still think the Titans are a decent team. Actually above average. So, I want to see where the line goes. Chargers, Bills. So, I was a big Chargers guy. And as you texted me on Sunday, Chargers going to Charger, which was totally true.
didn't respond, hater.
No, I didn't respond. So Chargers are favored by 7.5. The Bills have not committed to their quarterback yet. It is Tuesday again. The Bills, Sean McDermott said on Monday, I'm not sure. Like, really? I know you don't want to throw Josh Allen to the Wolves, and there's a tough early schedule, but the Chargers defense pretty banged up. Bosa's still out. They got a lot of guys hurting. It's a home game. How do you put Nathan Peterman out there? Unless you think Josh Allen is completely not ready, which is possible, how do you do that?
You don't. It's got to be Josh Allen. We've seen enough Nathan Peterman. I don't care.
Yeah.
Ravens week 1. We saw him last year. We've seen enough Nathan Peterman. Speaking of backups that aren't as good as Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, it was bad. So think about this game. As bad as the Bills were.
Are you going to find something to say nice about them?
No, I'm not, actually. Not at all. However,
it was setting up for that.
How bad does a team have to be? So they were in the playoffs last year. Now, I think they got a little lucky to get there. And they've changed quarterbacks from someone who's competent to probably someone who's not, at least temporarily now with Allen. How do you, with a team like the Chargers, I don't think the Chargers are good enough to be a 7.5-point favorite on the road. I mean, that's the NFL teams don't just roll over at home unless they're, if they're playing the Patriots, I could see it.
Right.
But I'm going to give 7.5 on the road with the Chargers, who, quite frankly, we can't trust.
Can't trust them. Buffalo is a tough place to play, too. I know in the winter it's even worse, but I just think, again, West Coast team, early game. Is it early? Is it 4? No, it's 1 o'clock game. Yeah. And I know you mentioned last week that trend hasn't really worked out where West Coast team playing early is a game changer. But I will say this, Philip Rivers is going to make a couple mistakes. 1 or 2, don't know, maybe a fumble here or there, to give the Bills some type of a chance. With that said, the Bills stink. Give me the Chargers.
7.5?
I'll take it. I
don't
know where the points come from. Unless it's a pick 6, which, again, when you're gambling, those type of plays just rip the heart out of you because you know you're right. You know you're feeling good, and then a pick 6 changes everything when you're giving that many points. Man, I cannot find where the points are going to come from.
Okay, so 43 over under, you're going under, I think.
Yeah, because I don't think the Chargers are going to score 35, maybe 30.
Right.
But, I mean, this Bills offense, Allen or Peterman, reminds me of what the Browns have been in recent years, where they kick a couple field goals, and then they go eat after the game. They go get a GD snack like Rex Ryan used to say. I just don't see how they're going to get more than 9 points out of this. I don't see them scoring a touchdown unless it's a pick 6 and a whole brain fart by Philip Rivers or one of his teammates on offense. I just don't see how they score 10-plus points on offense.
All right, I promise you I'm taking the Bills against the spread. I don't know about straight up, but I promise you I'm taking them against the spread. All right, Lions-Niners. Bovada doesn't have the line yet. I've seen Niners favored by 3.5.
Oh, the hook.
With the over under 47.5. I mean, I know, like I said, the Lions aren't as bad as they looked Monday night, probably. But I mean, the Niners actually, they impressed me later. They fought back in that game. And I thought the Vikings were going to roll, and the Niners were solidly competitive there. And I think they're just better than the Lions, and they should probably be favored by more than 3.5.
Oh, you think they'll easily cover that hook too? That 3?
I'll take it. I'm going to take them. Even like I said, even though the Lions probably aren't as horrible as they looked last night, I think the Niners are. They like I said, they're probably a little better than I expected. I think I'll take them there.
Yeah, I'll take the Niners too. One other thing from that Lions game, LeGarrette Blount got dinged up. I can't remember where he finished, but he had to exit the game, and Amir Abdullah was a healthy scratch. The running game is what it is. I mean, they can't hit anything on that. I will be interested to see how, with how much success Kirk Cousins had in the passing game, how Stafford bounces back with his receiving core to make a little noise, because it is doable against that Niners secondary. But yeah, I think Jimmy G looked good enough in the second half to give me confidence to take them at home. That hook makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, I know. It always does. Cardinals, Rams, the line wasn't up this morning because the Rams played late last night. The game was close at halftime, and then the Rams pulled away in the second. Probably, I mean, when I said 33-13, about right. for that game. Rams at home favored by 10.5, over under 47. I'm happy to give the points there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with what they showed statistically, I wasn't able to stay up for that second half. I just couldn't push my body to do it and then make it in time to talk to you this morning. I'm older than I used to be. But yeah, I think what you can see there is just Wade Phillips making adjustments there in the second half. Sam Bradford looked completely overmatched against the Redskins. I just don't know how they're going to be able to keep with tempo. I mean, the tempo of that Rams offense is must-see TV. If you didn't take time to watch, I mean, I know it's a Monday night game, you're going to watch it, but if you have the package, just watch the Rams. If you don't really have an NFL team, go out there and make the time for it. I think that's incredible. Plus, it's just crazy to see what Todd Gurley was a few years ago under a coach that will not be named, and then compared to what it is under McVay. It's just incredible to watch.
I agree with you. The Rams are must-see. The Rams you should watch them. When you're not watching your own team, you should watch the Rams every week. They are fun to watch. Okay. Pats and Jags. Bovada doesn't have that up yet. Leonard Fournette's a big question mark here. He was seen, according to ESPN, seen with a sleeve on his leg, not limping on Monday. That's a good sign.
All the drugs were pumping through his leg. The Varsity Blues needle scene always pops into my head.
Yeah.
Injuries occur. What is in that body where you're not limping or feeling anything for that matter? But yeah, I think this is going to be a fun game. I don't think it's going to be necessarily close. I think the Patriots, even with the Jags defense, I think the Patriots are going to – there's no early spread at all on this one. Because
I saw Pats by 2, which I'll be happy to take the Jags.
You're going to take the Jags in that case? I'll take the Patriots.
At home?
Yeah, I get it. I'm going to take the Patriots. I think, again, the Patriots, they'll lay eggs here and there, and they'll struggle for whatever reason on any given week. And they do struggle when they go to Florida. They just have never really played well there in recent years. But I'll take the Patriots in that.
Okay. Back to Varsity Blues. One of my wife's friends, who I will not name, recently confessed that she did the whipped cream bikini.
Cheers.
That's it. That's all I get.
I'm going to take a long drink of water because I like my job.
Wow. It was in the movie. Come on.
No, and Allie Larder, I think that was peak Allie Larder back then too. So,
yeah.
I don't remember how much of her career after that, but it was a delicious moment.
She was on Heroes, right?
Yes, the show on NBC with Hayden Panettiere, who, great. Yeah, it was. I know a bunch of people were bummed when that show was canceled because I think Allie Larder and Hayden Panettiere was a lot of the must-see TV, the Rams of the Heroes network was. But whipped cream bikini scene, I mean, iconic, right? It's almost as much as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right?
Apparently, the real life execution of the whipped cream bikini is different because it melted right off and it just didn't work. So that's what I heard. We actually had a conversation about it. So, like I said, I cannot divulge anything beyond that. But
that's a Hall of Fame story. I'm very.
All right.
That
Raiders Broncos again. Raiders played late. The line's not up everywhere. I saw Broncos by 5, favored by 5 at home with an over/under of 45. Broncos looked fine the other day. I don't know. 5 seems like a lot in a game between two kind of law teams.
Yeah, I'll take the Raiders. I think I saw enough before that second half meltdown where Case Keenum is going to have an average yard per attempt of 5 if he keeps throwing to Emmanuel Sanders on the slant. Because outside of that, I don't know where the offense is really coming. I know Demaryius scored. I think he was out of bounds in that one, by the way. And I think the Seahawks should have won that game. Anyways, again, the Broncos defense still great. I think that's going to make some issues with the run game. One thing to take away from the Raiders that I wanted to mention, looking at the box score, Jalen Richard, I know it's been a few years building where it's like, this is the year he breaks out. He had a nice game, and I know Lynch scored the touchdown when he dragged 15 bodies in the end zone. But I think Jalen Richard, he needs to continue to be part of that offense because Jared Cook's not going to have that game every week. A little revenge game for Jared Cook. But I like what I saw from the Raiders in the 2 quarters that I saw where they can keep pace. And I think that's too many points from a Broncos team that I don't know if they can rely on Emmanuel Sanders to do that week in and week out.
Okay. Sunday night, Cowboys favored by 3 over the Giants, over under 42. Yeah, that spread's about right. This one could go either way. I think there was a lot to not like about both of these teams on Sunday.
Yeah, and again, I think Eli could go in there and win that game. I'm actually going to take the Giants in this one. I think Saquon got that little bit of a confidence boost there in the second half with that run. Odell Beckham had a quiet 11 for 111, I think.
Yep.
I mean, incredible. And the Cowboys were just really hard to watch in that Panthers game. And I know the Panthers defense played well, and the Giants defense isn't that. But this is a classic matchup, and I think that the Cowboys are reeling right now. I don't think that they know exactly where their team – it's cliche, but they don't know what their team identity is in that they look kind of lost. I mean, Zeke isn't rushing for 150 yards behind that line. Their receivers, they're trying to work out. I thought it was awesome where Tavon Austin got that one play, and then I don't think we saw him the rest of the game. Classic Tavon Austin. So I just think that the Giants had a lot to build on that second half and keeping that game close with the Jaguars versus what the Cowboys are reeling and always having that pressure of being America's team and Garrett on the hot seat, what feels like the last 2-3 years or even longer. I think the Giants go in there and win that game.
All right. I'm not sure yet. I think both offensive lines are struggling. The Cowboys' offensive line, not bad, but not what it used to be, and that's a problem for them. Say that again, sorry.
You mentioned that last week about the offensive line of the Cowboys.
Yeah, sorry. I think one of the people I watched a lot of that, and they struggled. And Evan Silva from Roto World, who does a great job of tape study and breaking down games, said that was the first game he watched, and the first thing he tweeted after it was, "That's not a top 10 offensive line anymore." And if that's right, as I said last week here, the Cowboys, the whole thing is predicated on that offensive line dominating. And if they don't, I mean, they have other good parts of that team. Their front seven on defense is actually pretty good. And I think that gives the Giants some trouble because the Giants' offensive line struggled, specifically Eric Flowers, who I mean, you might as well put just a big inflatable doll at right tackle. Yeah. But, at some point they're going to have to help Flowers, and that's bad because it takes people out of the receiving game. Now, with that said, the Giants, they now have two guys who can take it to the house anytime they touch the ball. And there's a lot to be said for that. There's going to be some games that are going to turn on that. It almost turned the game on Sunday when Barkley broke the big touchdown. So, maybe it's sort of they don't win at the line of scrimmage, but they just kind of hope for the big, cross your fingers and hope the big play happens. Seems like what it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think Eli and Odell are on the verge of making that happen. I think there's going to be a big play where Eli, he'll make his mistakes and he'll crumble in the backfield. But I think the Odell and Barkley, there's going to be enough there to get that win on the road.
Yeah, and by the way, Odell was running away from Jalen Ramsey on Sunday. He really was. Monday night, what do we got here? Oh, yeah, Seahawks at Bears. Oh, poor Bears.
That was a tough way to lose. I don't know what to say. I mean, you're the most brilliant team ever to pay Khalil Mack in the first half. You're going to the Super Bowl. I swear I saw a tweet, and I don't know if it was trolling, which is highly likely. The Bears are the best team in the NFC North. And it just didn't have any type of consistency around it to say he was trolling. So I was just like, wow. But there is something to build on there, even though Aaron Rodgers was there.
I think this spread's too low. I think as bad as it went for the Bears, they lost to, a freak, right? Yeah. I think the Bears are actually a pretty good team. I think what we saw in the first half, there was a lot, again, a lot to like. Khalil Mack's gonna he's not gonna get winded as fast. He's gonna be able to play more snaps as the season goes along. The offense looked fine. Their defense is pretty solid. I think they are an above average team in a home game against a team that would kind of stink without their quarterback.
I'm sorry, I missed what the spread was on that.
The spread is right now. I see 3.5. Bears by 3.5.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears. I picked the Seahawks last week. They pushed at Denver. I kind of got an idea of what we talked about. Earl Thomas had a nice game against Case Keenum, and I think Trubisky's obviously better than Case Keenum. I think Allen Robinson looked good for the Bears. I think Tariq Cohen is that X factor that the Bears desperately need, much like Chris Thompson in Washington, where you're going to be able to get creative in some of your play calls that is just going to kind of confuse the Seahawks, and you can mix it up enough now that you have Allen Robinson, you have a good rush attack, Trubisky's mobile in the pocket, and then it goes back to Russell Wilson just running for his life. I mean, he quietly put up, I don't want to get into fantasy too much, but 25-plus fantasy points because he's running for his life. He has a couple nice deep throws to Tyler Lockett. And it's just kind of a carbon copy of what we saw last year. But that offensive line with what the Bears have coming and breathing down his neck, he's not going to be comfortable. And I think the Bears are going to have a nice bounce back from a heartbreaking loss to Aaron Rodgers.
Agreed. I think this is you never want to say an easy one, but I have no doubt that I'm going to pick the Bears unless the spread really changes a lot. And I probably won't change that much. Ryan, anything we missed? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think just going back to the Browns, because I think they're going to be an interesting case study throughout the course of this season. I think it's crazy what they were able to do in the rain. And rain keeps things a little bit more even. To tie with the Steelers, a solid team in the AFC and just a perennial power. Then you go to New Orleans and you're still an 8-point dog. That shows how much work needs to be done. And you kind of wonder where those spreads become if Baker Mayfield is the quarterback, because I think Baker in there, combined with seeing more from that rushing game, seeing more Hyde, and just that evolving over time will be interesting to see how that impacts spreads the rest of the year, because that defense is on the rise. Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, those appear to be home runs early on. I know it's armchair quarterbacking on a Tuesday after week 1, but you get enough pressure on quarterbacks and make their lives a little hectic, that's going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, Myles Garrett, he's not bad.
Well, it's just nice for a defensive lineman that gets the high pick to live up to those type of expectations, because they are so lofty when skill position players usually get drafted.
Right. All right, folks, again, Twitter, I'm at Halpin37. He is at Freelance Fowler, and we are at Pickwatch. So if you need us, check us out. Also, Pickwatch, as you're watching now, or some of you are watching now, you might be watching on YouTube, but check out our Facebook page where we'll be doing the live show on Sundays. We'll put all our videos, lots of picks, information, things like that. That's it for today's edition of Pickwatch Live. Remember, check us out, NFLPickwatch.com. Go make your picks. Check out the expert picks. Check out the fan picks. Lots of great information there. But we'll be back on Thursday. Josh Katzwitz is going to be here with me, giving a deeper look. You know, we're a little closer to every game. We're going to make our picks, talk about all the games for week 2. So please come on back and check it out. For Ryan Fowler, I'm John Halpin. Thanks for watching Pickwatch Live.